You all might have noticed, but this is no ordinary episode. Muso here is moving up in the world. This jammy little mouse has got his first special guest. And what a special squirrel he is. Here's Paddy. And Paddy is an expert in the world of games and all things fantastic. So now for the other change. Big change. Yes, I did have my fur done. Now, Patty, he's joining our ducks today for a special reason with the Steamfest review. So he thought he'd swing by to swap some stories, providing his professional pronunciation for the most popular projects. We'll be having a gander at the top demos before I throw him some groovy wildcards, Muso style. Now, top of the charts on top of our show is the demo for Burglin Gnomes. Focusing on friends-based frantic antics, this goofy co-op Burgle Them Up seeks to generate those moments with your friends where chaos and creativity combine to make the magic happen. Seeking to take the place of games like Repo or Lethal Company, do these burgling little blighters have what it takes to take the internet by storm? What's your take on burglary then, Patrick?
Well, you wouldn't know anything about burglary, would you, Muso? But these devs have more to worry about than your questionable past, my friend. The real trick with a game like this is the accessibility of the action and staying power. If it needs the players to intentionally create the humor themselves, it restricts access to the best parts of these games as everyone sees the funny clips online and wants that to happen to them. But if it's too hard to recreate those viral moments, then players lose interest quickly, because not everyone has a flock of dogs to play these games with, which then leads into the staying power. If it's hard to make entertaining events happen, or there just isn't that many scenarios to begin with, people will get bored quickly. So they have got to make sure there's a lot of sandbox mechanics ripe for organic comedy to arise on its own if they want more than just a flash in the pan at launch.
From below your knees to the high seas, the next demo makes a more piratical proposition as Windrose looks to have you and your mates, or is it mateys in this case, take on the seven seas with swashbuckling, sword fighting and seeking treasure with self-described Souls-like combat and difficult PvE encounters. We've seen the likes of Black Flag, Sea of Thieves and Skull and Bones come and go. Will this blueprint for buccaneering business stick the landing or sink to the bottom?
We have seen a lot of open-world survival crafting games come and go over the years, and you know me, I get bored easily, so I'm primed to understand why. A lot of these games struggle with long-term retention as you either run out of stuff to do, or it is all such a grind it turns off someone like me who is in it for the explosions. If your game relies too heavily on intrinsic motivation, like making a cool house, then it turns off the players who are in it for the story or progression. But if you focus too hard on the extrinsic motivators, then the survival aspect can feel superfluous, as then it just slows you down from reaching your goal. So far, it seems like Windrose is off to a strong start, as it's got the kind of swashbuckling action that a player like me searches for, while incentivizing the survival aspect by making the upgrades feed back into the gameplay loop. Sure, you could sail the seas in a dinghy, but wouldn't it be better to have a broadside of cannons? However, being in early access, only time will tell if they can keep up the level of content and player freedom needed to grab that long-term player base.
Now coming in third but not to be ignored is Vampire Crawlers. Funny how many vampires we've been seeing lately. From the folks that brought you Vampire Survivors is a new roguelike with the same flair, but a new twist. Instead of wandering the grounds, you're crawling the dungeon as this go-round. You're collecting cards rather than weapons. Dishing out destruction from your deck, you explore the map, fighting creatures and collecting cards. They hit it big with Vampire Survivors, but can they catch lightning twice? What do you say, Patrick? Paddy old boy. You don't mind me calling you that, do you?
Vampire Survivors blew up out of nowhere and basically invented a new genre of roguelike, and then we have seen games like Megabonk prove that the formula can work again. So now, given the time the devs have had to work on a new game and the fact that they have been able to see how other people have improved or iterated on their base, means I think they have got a good shot at bringing the heat a second time. The deck building aspect could help bring in the players who like a bit more strategy in the roguelikes compared to the barely controlled chaos of Vampire Survivors.
A quick interlude now, as you might remember, a certain otter might have made some comments about me that I wasn't keen on. Ever since then we've talked it out, and she's become a dear friend, she has. Sweet lady that Sally is. But when she heard who I was meeting today, she just had to pass me a little question. So, Patrick, asking for a friend, could you find it in your heart to ever love an otter?
Anyway.
Now that we're off the range, we're in Muso land now, and you know I can't resist a good beat. So how about Beat Hero? Mixing more genres, than that time I tried to write a version of Romeo and Juliet where they get abducted by aliens. This little beat-based battler has a lot going on, matching 3 titles to the beat to create attacks to defend your hero, all while collecting upgrades and power-ups as this little musical morsel bitten off more than it can chew.
Romeo, Juliet and aliens, huh? Sounds a lot more exciting than whatever that so-called genius Shakespeare came up with. I always did think that story could use a few more laser death rays. But back to the topic at hand. Beat Hero. It takes a lot to stand out these days, so you often have to think of something unique to draw people in. And this is certainly unique. However, rhythm games always run the same risk, which is inherent to their core design. What happens if you just don't like the music? However, I can't help but hope for the best with them, as I love seeing something new. And the frantic action where you have got to focus on a million things at once is right up my alley.
Finally, to wrap it up, let's get heavy. Heavy metal, that is. Riff Hammer is a hack and a slash. It's a hack and slash together, or is it a hack-and-strum? As you have to hack or slash to these thrash beats, and your timing, your actions all the way, and that's the key to the success. With the twist that your selection of weapon determines your BPM, with the chugging riffs of a warhammer or the thrash clash of jewel daggers, no matter your choice, is sure to rock. But is Metal Mayhem enough, or will just... or will this just be thrash trash?
Well, we have seen this kind of gameplay work very well in games like Bullets Per Minute and Metal Hellsinger, so there is some history here. The frantic patting your head and rubbing your stomach type of gameplay is perfect for someone like me, as the flow state of sensory overload is just intoxicating. However, there is the concern of variety. Both those previously mentioned games have a ton of weapons, songs, and modifiers to keep it from ever falling into repetition. With just a demo, we can't know for sure. But I hope the devs have what it takes to keep this heavy metal mayhem going for an encore, rather than just an opener.
Well, it looks like it's falling to me again. So, I will have to say one more time. We really appreciate it if you like and subscribe to the video. It helps us out to keep putting these out every week and help getting these special guests. And maybe, if we see that you guys like these, then maybe Muso will take his darn job seriously again.